Recorded. So the next thing is get user ID, okay, or get username by ID. Okay. So now, Munjal, you take a look at these four things and tell me what is the common part. So what are we doing in here? What is the common stuff in four of these things?
Am I right?
I did not hear you. What did you say?
User is a common for all those functions.
Right? Yeah. So since user is a common thing here, let's actually. Oh boy. Just a second. I'll have to close this guy somehow. Yeah. So what we'll do is, let's say since user is the common concept here, why not group them together? Okay. Why not group them together? So when we group them together, we'll have to find a way to access this group of data or this group of functionality. Okay. At that point, what we're doing is we are saying dollar $object is equal to new user. Okay. The whole concept of encapsulation is we are hiding the data, hiding the functionality from the developer. Okay. Assume, see again, if you are the only developer on the team, this might not make a lot of sense. Okay. But assume that there are architects working over you and they will actually be building all this structure. At that point, the base framework is already there, or I actually am on a different team. Okay. I have already built all the user uh, classes. Okay. All I want you to do is create, say, like a child user, or create a what is it, create something called as an anonymous user. Okay. At that point, all you'll have to do is inherit this class. Okay. But to answer your question, we are encapsulating all the user functionality, okay, into an object called user. Okay. So encapsulation is grouping a similar type of functionality into a class, which actually makes sense. Okay. Does that help you? Did that clear the question that you had?
Yeah. So, are you telling me like we are making an indirect, like okay, let's say like there are two persons. If they want to communicate, we are putting a one person between them called object, which is an indirect person for those two people. Kind of right that like that, right?
I do not understand. Say that again.
Okay, like you are making an object, um, which is gonna be used to access whatever the class have in it, right? So
Yeah,
like
exactly.
reference, you're making just a reference so nobody can know what you have in a class, but they can use what is the functionality of the class.
Okay, so here the object is the reference.
Right.
The class would actually contain the functionality. Okay. The object, so it's okay. So object is like a mirror. Okay. The class is the
Mhm.
actual person. Okay. So when you look at yourself in the mirror, okay, what will happen? You can see yourself, but it is not actually you, right?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, this actually might sound a little creepy, but that is a good way of looking at it. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
You actually know that the person on the mirror isn't is a reflection, is something that looks like you. Okay. But it's not actually you. So here the user class contains all the functionality, but it is actually useless. You have to create an object to perform any functionality. Okay. But encapsulation, the question that you asked, the encapsulation is a concept in which you are grouping similar functionality into a class. You are grouping everything by functionality. That is an easier way of putting it.
Oh.
Yeah, you're grouping everything by
Oh, okay, okay,
functionality.
okay. That
Yeah,
makes more sense.
yeah, you're grouping everything by functionality, so that the the person who's actually going to create an object doesn't know the code. That is the whole concept of encapsulation. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, see, this would actually make sense if you actually take a look at, say, like a. Do you have any experience with, say, like a C plus plus project or a C sharp or a Java
Yeah,
project?
I have a C, C++, and a little bit of Java too.
Okay, so
I
in
mean,
Java,
I'm familiar with those things, but like the encapsulation, I try to like go more deeper in it, like what exactly that means or something like that. So probably that's why.
yeah, encapsulation. To get the actual definition, refer two related but distinct notions, sometimes a common language mechanism for restricting access to some of the object's components. Okay, the language construct that facilitates. Yeah, see, this is the second one that we have actually talked about. The language construct that facilitates the bundling of data with the methods operating on that data. Yeah, so you are actually bundling a bunch of methods. Yeah, but again,
Right.
uh,
Yeah.
Munjal, I mean, do not worry about the terms. Okay, make sure that you get what you understand passed over to the other side. Because if you actually get stuck in
Yeah.
these terms, uh, you might actually get confused. That's the only scare. Uh,
Right.
yeah, so let's actually use the terminal, and let's actually, yeah, so let's do this. So we actually have around 45 minutes. Okay, so in 45 minutes, let's actually build a small employee application. Okay, let's do cd var. Let's actually use the create app sh. Let's say employee app. Okay, so employee app is ready to use. Let's actually go in here. So okay, so let's actually test if it's working. Okay, perfect, it's actually working. So let's pull it up in the browser. Oops. Employee app.com. Okay, so it looks like I have an error, but I mean it's hang on. Yeah, so I have a small error. Let us fix that first. Okay, so let's go in here. Yeah, index.php. Ah, I have to use echo, right? I don't use echo. So, but yeah, never mind. Let's actually remove this index.php. Let me quickly modify my shell script so that I don't have to worry about it another time. Let's say echo. Okay, so let's actually go into employee app. Yeah, let's actually say create employee is one, or let's actually say create employee dot html is one. Okay, in which we are actually going to create a basic employee. Head, head, body, body. Okay, then let's also create a index.html file, or let's say index.php file. Okay, so what we'll do here, so let's actually clear out what is the functionality. Okay, so in the functionality would be adding an employee, okay, and assigning the employee to a what is it, to another senior employee and a department. Okay, so let's actually create our database for this one. Create database employee app. Okay, so let's say show tables. Let's say use employee app. So there are no tables. Okay, so let's create a table. Create table employee id int not null auto increment. Okay, so employee id, employee name varchar 30, then let's say designation varchar 30, let's say department. Okay, because there can only be one department at a time for an employee. Okay, and finally let's actually say boss id. Okay, so boss id would be, I mean, we can actually come with a better name, but since we are in a time crunch, let's actually name it something. Let's say that this one is an integer and this would actually reference it back to the employee id. Okay, and finally let's say primary key is id. Okay, perfect. So now we have the employee table. Okay, then let's create a table departments. Okay, you know what? Okay, so we should have probably done this. So here what do we want? Yeah, so we wouldn't need another table. I guess one table is enough, because all we want to do is we want to add an employee and assign the employee to a boss, right? Yeah, so let's actually insert into employee. Okay, values, but here we have to give the columns: name, department, boss id. Okay, so if the boss id is 0, it means that they are the like they are the CEO of the company, as an example. Okay, so the name is emp1, department is all, boss id is 0. It's an integer, so we cannot put it like that. Okay, 0. Now emp2, department is technology, boss id is 1. Okay, emp3, the thing is HR. Okay, the boss id is 1 again. Okay, emp4, the boss id, the department says finance, the boss id is 1 again. Now let's actually build child employees. emp5, okay, they are from tech. Okay, so their boss has to be number 2. emp6 is also from tech and their boss is number 2. emp7 is from HR and their boss is number 3. Okay, so now let's actually look at something real quick. Select star from employee. Okay, so we have, so let's see, I have 20 minutes. Okay, no problem. So we have 3 people from what is it, 3 people from technology, 2 people from HR and 1 from finance. Okay, so if I want to say, let us actually take a look at group of employees. Let us say uh, count by department and department from employee, group by department. Okay, so that is how they would show. So there are 3 people in tech, 2 people in HR, one in finance and one in all the departments. Okay, so now all that we'll do is we'll exit here. Let's actually build our, so create HTML, then we would have to say add employee dot php. Okay, so now let's actually create the form to add an employee. Okay, this is title add employee, title, here we have a form, method is post, because we have a lot of data. I mean, we can even use get, but let's just use post for this one. Action is add employee.php form. So the first thing is going to be text box. Okay, input. So let's actually build in a table. Tr tr td td name, input type is equal to name, name is equal to emp name. Okay, and then all we'll have to do is select the boss. Now let's say td boss. Now we'll have to make this into a select. Okay, select name is equal to boss. Now we'll have to find a way where we actually get all the employees into that section. Okay, and the last one is going to be, see again, I wouldn't want to let the users choose the, what is it, choose the department after they have actually chosen the boss, because the guy has to be from the boss's department, right? So let's actually keep it that way. So give me 1 second, let me actually hook my charger over to the power plug. Okay, so since we have to make the select options dynamic, let's actually convert it into a PHP application, okay, or PHP file. Create employee to create employee.php. Vi create employee.php. Okay. So now the first thing is, let's actually begin with PHP. We would open up a connection, say MySQL connect localhost root admin MySQL select db is equal to employee app, then MySQL, okay, so dollar result is equal to MySQL query. So in here what I'll do is I'll say select distinct, where we want to get the departments, right? So we would say select distinct department from employee. Okay, let's actually see if this, if you I mean, did you get that query? Well, employee, so I'm saying select distinct department from employee. So at that point it will actually give me all the distinct departments irrespective of how many people there are. Okay, so that gives the data. Now let's actually say while dollar row is equal to what is it, MySQL fetch object dollar result dollar data is equal to dollar row. Now let's actually print this data out so that we can actually see if we need to make any changes. Um, exit cd www cd employee app, and let's become sudo php create employee. Okay, so on line 4, ah, so department is finance. Okay, so what we'll have to do is, we cannot, obviously we cannot do that. We'll have to do this because we want an array of options or array of departments, right? Okay, so now what we have are, we have 4 departments. Okay, and each of them is a standard object, so we don't want that. So what we can do is, we will say row of department, or since it's an object, which is a row of department. So let's actually one last time see if we are getting an array of items. Yeah, so now we actually have an array of items. Okay, so now let's actually go back. Let's remove this guy here. Now the data is already stored in the variable data. So all that we'll have to do is, we'll have to say open up PHP here. Okay, just like any other PHP script, we'll say for each dollar data as dollar option. Okay, echo. So we are echoing HTML out. Okay, so to have an option, what we'll say, we'll say option value is equal to dollar option, close the thing, print dollar option. Okay, and then again let's close the option. Okay, so if we actually load this file on the web page, we should actually get a nice form without a submit button, obviously. But let's actually check that out. Employee create employee dot php. Okay, so now let's actually add in the submit button very quick, and then we can actually do our submit, and then we'll do our post processing. See Munjal, when I say that I want you all to come up with an application, this is how simple it should be. Okay, I do not want you all to focus a lot on the UI aspect. I mean, if you focus on UI aspect, go ahead and do it, but remember that you are supposed to be a PHP person. Okay, so you'll have to make sure that you can get your PHP done first before you get into any other stuff. Value add employee. Now if you actually wanted to make it look little better, we can actually add a header where we would say add employee. Okay, so now let's actually add the employee. We are not yet adding an employee, we are only going to post the data to employee.php. Okay, so now in this here, let's actually say add employee. Since we would only be printing the data, let's actually print the data and exit here. Okay, name employee 8. Oh, you know what, this is the department, so we'll have to get the bosses, right? See, that's a logical error. Let's actually scroll up. So what we'll have to do is we'll say select employee, select name. Okay, or select name id comma name. Okay, so at this point this will change again, right? So that point it should say data, so it will be another array where we would say id is equal to dollar row of id, dollar data of dollar data of name. So let's actually check that out real quick. Dollar row name. Let's print dollar data and let's actually exit it here. Okay, let's actually add echo pre. Okay, so this is not what we want. So what we can do is set dollar id here again, dollar row of id, because we are using for each anyway, so we wouldn't have to care about what number it starts with, right? So here we actually have all the employees with their id numbers. Perfect. Now let's actually go in here, or when I think about it, we can directly say this is the name and we can completely get rid of this guy and we can completely get rid of this guy. So at that point when we do a for each, we can do key and value. Okay, let's actually try that out real quick. Yeah, right, so this guy is the key for this value. Okay, now let's actually remove this thing. So what I was saying was boss dollar id. Okay, here in the value we'll print out the id. Okay, because we only want the boss's id, not the name. Okay, so now let's actually do a refresh. Right, now you are adding an employee, new employee, and you are selecting the boss. Does that make sense, Punjal? Okay, so now what I'm doing is I'll say employee 4 is the boss. Okay, I'll say add employee, finish. Okay, so now we'll let us actually go in here and let's actually, so we'll have to do two things in the add employee. Okay, so the first one is to get the department of the boss, right, because we need a department value in here. If not, we wouldn't be able to we cannot add a new row. So let's say get the boss's department first. Okay, uh, get the boss's id, then we'll say get the boss's department and then create new employee. Okay, so now let's actually get the boss's id first. Okay, dollar boss underscore id is equal to dollar underscore post. Okay, so dollar underscore post, this is the boss's id. Okay, number 4. Okay, I shouldn't have made that capital, but let's ignore it for now. Okay, then the new employee's name. Okay, let me say that it is new employee name is emp name. Yep. it's camel case, so that's another thing to keep in mind. Dollar underscore post emp name. Okay, then get the boss's department. Okay, well again here we'll do MySQL connect. So let's actually copy it from here. So why should we overkill? Let's actually say set no number, get rid of these numbers. Copy and paste. Okay, so we can probably remove this first for now. We will say select department from employee where id is equal to boss id. Okay, because we want to get the department of the boss. Okay, now so yeah, we would still need this while dollar row is equal to MySQL fetch row. So MySQL fetch row is is another way of getting data where we would only get the data for a single row. Okay, because here there can only be one department for a boss in our example, right? Let's say dollar row. I mean dollar result. Let's actually print the row. So once we can confirm that we have retrieved the boss's data, let's actually insert the data. Let's actually refresh if everything is working as expected. Okay, perfect. Finance. Let's actually confirm. Okay, it's always important that we check our code. Minus u root minus p admin. So use employee app. Okay, so in here, let's actually go in here. Let's actually print the post to get the boss's ID. I think it was 4, but let's double check. Dollar underscore. Okay, yeah, it is 4. Okay, let's actually double check. Let's say select star from employee where ID is equal to 4. Yeah, so that guy is from finance, which is nice. Okay, now yeah, so now what we'll do is let's actually take a look at how the data is coming out. Let's actually remove this. When I print the row, okay, so I'm actually getting it as the 0th element. It's not bad. Let's say dollar department is equal to dollar row of 0. Okay, so now let's actually write the insert script. Okay, so we'll again say dollar result is equal to MySQL query. So insert into employee name, department, and boss ID. Okay, values. We'll have to say yeah, dollar new employee name, and then we'll say dollar department, then we'll say dollar boss ID. Okay, and see that should do it. So now we are adding the information. Okay, so now but it looks like we are not closing. Yeah, so we did not close the um, quote or the double quote here. Okay, so now it's closed, everything looks better. Okay, so if this is done, we should be able to add the employee added. Okay, so let's actually run this and see if we can add the employee directly. It says employee added. Now let's actually verify. Select star from employee. So the employee did not get added. Okay. Yeah, so the employee was not added. So now let's actually take a look at our insert query. Name, department and boss ID. So it is right. Name, department and boss ID. Values. Hmm. See, MySQL is actually particular about this stuff. So I think we'll have to do this. Not sure. One way to double check is to do var dump on result to see if that went through or not. So let's actually do a var dump. So bool false. Okay, so it did not go through again. And we can double check from here. So it did not go through. Parenthesis is missing. Okay, so let's actually see. But if parenthesis is missing, we'll actually get an error. Parenthesis where? Oh, you know what? You know what's missing? I think it is the connection. Just a guess. Let's actually see if that. But yeah, even the one on top doesn't have parenthesis for the values. Oh, dude, yeah, you're right. That's the problem. You are right. You are right. Yeah, so now let's actually refresh it. That did not help. So let me actually do not show again. Let me actually remove these and replace them with this thing. Mm, mm, Also, let's get rid of this thing. Yeah, let's actually try this one last time. And if it does not insert, yeah, see, okay, so that worked. Okay, as soon as I say that, let's try this one last time, things start working. Okay, so now we have a new employee. Okay, let's go back and let's actually create another employee. Okay, this time, yeah, I actually keep saying that at work. That's why all my stuff works. So let's actually add another employee. Bool true, nice. Now, okay, so I actually am going on adding people. I'm going on adding people, but this is not good. What we'll do is let's actually start selecting people. Okay, I mean start getting people out. So let's do this. Mm, So let's say let's close this guy out. Vi. So let's actually move index.php to get all employees or get employees. Get employee. Let's again copy this part, paste it. The only minor change obviously is going to be the select, right? Just say select star So start from employee. Okay, and let's keep that as an object. Let's do a row ID and let's say row. Okay, now let's do a print recursive to see what all do we get data. Get employee. Okay, so we have the information of all the employees. Okay, now what we'll do, let's actually build a small table, or you know what, let's actually build the table right here. See, because the whole concept is to keep the code as little as possible. That should be the whole concept. Okay, let's actually create the table outside. Table, table, and all we'll do is echo. So each everything would be a single row, right? So echo table row. Now we wouldn't even have to store that in a different variable. Therefore, we are storing a lot of memory or saving a lot of memory. I'm sorry. Td. What all do we get? Name, department, boss ID. Okay. Dollar row name. Td dollar row department. Dollar row boss ID. See, for some reason, why are these two showing up in a different color? Never mind. Let's actually build the HTML. HTML body, body, HTML. Okay. Easy. Now let's actually load this page up. Get employee.php. Also, we already have it here. Oh no! So what happened here? Everything looks like it actually is showing up on a single row. Oh, you know what? Yeah, it has to be, the row has to be, obviously it has to be inside. So that was a dumb thing on my part. Let me move this in here. Let me move this in here, in here. Okay, so we have a basic table, okay, which actually displays all the required data. And since you have 6 more minutes, so let's actually build a table header so that it actually looks a little better. Let's say tr echo slash tr echo table header, which would say name, echo table header, which say department, echo table header, This is going to be boss ID. Okay, let's also add up a little border. Okay, easy. See, this is how easy PHP is. This is how easy you can actually build applications in PHP. Okay, so all we did was add a few employees, and we have already started looking at people. So now let's actually go from end to end. Okay, where we will say I want to add an employee first. Oh, you know what? It has to be something different, right? I guess it's create, is it? Yeah, create employee. Okay. So in create, what I'll say, okay, so what is the last day? Employee name. So employee 10. And I'll actually add it to employee 6. Okay. Add employee, bool true. Okay. Now if we refresh here, employee 10 is a new guy. Okay. And again, since we did not put in any kind of validations, there was a dummy row that went in. Okay. But we need not worry, because once we start putting validations and we start putting in more stuff, we'll actually be getting better data. But the point here is employee 10, okay, the boss is 6. Okay, since the boss is 6 and since the boss works for technology, they're already working in technology. Okay, so that is how simple it is. So Munja, let me ask you, what if you use if you use employee 9 again to create with a different boss? Yeah, nothing will happen. Employee 9 would be created. See, that is the that was the point, right? Because we are not checking for anything. Because let's actually create that. Okay, employee, because we do not have a key, we are not checking for anything. I can even do this where I'll say employee 9 is employee nine's boss. Okay, and that would work. If I do that, see, employee 9 is employee nine's boss and they work for HR. Okay, because if you would want to do that, what you know what we'll have to do, there is something called as a self reference. Okay, where we will say that we were going to map. Okay, so let me show you. So let's actually go into MySQL clear. MySQL minus u root minus p admin new employee app describe employee. See here, boss ID at that point would become a foreign key of ID. Okay, at that point we will not be able to reference ourselves. So that is how we will say that you cannot be your own boss. Okay, if we actually put in a unique index or name, we cannot add in another employee with the same name. Okay, I mean the whole point of this exercise, Munjal, was to show you how simple an employee directory is. Okay, because see, what is it, I actually had like 40 minutes to build this. Okay, so now what I want you all to do is I want you all to take this forward and build it and make it as big as you can. Okay, you can introduce sessions, you can introduce uh no, no, I mean it's a pretty simple thing. Once it's all with the first application. Once you get the first application done, PHP is very simple thing. So let me ask you, if there are any questions, are there any questions with what you have done today? Good. Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, like I've said, PHP is probably like the best language for anybody to learn, because you can actually build any type of applications in PHP. Because I mean, trust me, I mean, I'm not just saying because I like PHP, but I've actually built applications in C Sharp and ASP.NET, and I've also built applications in Python. Okay, So I mean, when compared to those languages, PHP is PHP is like the web language. So yeah, long story short, it is about time that you all start building applications. I did not get you. What did he say? No stands for no question. Oh, okay, okay, okay. Perfect. Okay. Since there are no questions, yeah, since there are no questions at this point, let's call it a day. I'll actually push this file up, and I remember that I have to send you the file from the other day. I'll also send you that file. Okay.
No problem. All right. Thank you.
All right, man. See you tomorrow at 8 o'clock.
See ya. Good night.
Good night.